Millennials. What is one thing that the rest of us just don't understand? Most things millennials gripe about aren't just whiny child BS. They're legitimate issues. Unaffordable housing, lower wages, employers requiring more experience for entry-level positions, unreal student loan debt. These are real issues. Since the average retirement age keeps increasing, these issues will only get worse. I think we are the only gen to have grown up in both the pre-internet and internet era. I remember growing up with VCRs and Walkmans. I remember dial-up internet when the internet was still a gimmick and not all that interesting. I remember growing up in a state of constant change, both socially, politically and technologically. I think this state of constant change and constant adaptation is why we do so well with technology, when our parents, just one gen earlier, grew up with a mostly analog world, and that's why it's so hard for them to change with the world. For better or worse, we have been given a unique way of growing up, and we are the only generation to have grown up in both eras of history. The reason older people can get away with not being a computer technology person is not because they are unnecessary. It's because you have your kids and grandkids to do that stuff for you. Stop technology and maybe just say thank you to them. Every time I read a thread about being a millennial, it just ends in depression. That's the legacy our parents' generations have left us. Depression and anxiety. The economy is growing but our paychecks are not. Economists will tell you that wages generally increase with productivity, that you're paid in line with the value of what you do. Ms. Word is a design program and shouldn't be used as one. Most people don't know the age of millennials. To them, a millennial is someone that they hate and happens to be younger than them. When we don't really sell ourselves on Microsoft programs in job interviews, it's because that's like asking if we know how to write. We grew up with the stuff. It's not hard. I have a house now that cost $120,000+ more than it was when you raised me, and it's smaller than the house we grew up in. It took me until I am 34 to get it, and you got yours at 21. You worked a summer job plus bartending for 3 years while you were going to school, and you made enough to pay for your college and masters, and for my mom to stay home. This was your life. Mine is not that way. I had my house paid by the time I was 25 from old people. Houses cost a whole lot less then, Barbara. You can't pause a raid in Warcraft, okay? You just cannot. That it's hard, even in my early 30s with a good full-time job, to afford rent and food and everything else. I wish I had been born in a time where working a job like I have now would pay for a 3-bedroom house and 2 cars. No, I'm not lazy. I just don't think I should have to work 2 full-time jobs just to survive. When people who grew into adulthood in the 2000s and 2010s ignore your economic career advice, it's not because we're snotty or ungrateful or don't value your opinion. It's because the economy is so different that advice which may have been good in the 50s 80s is not likely to still be good. That most of us have actually done customer service jobs our whole life. And when people talk about how millennials and the younger generations are all about instant gratification, each and every one of us has vivid memories of old fracking dirtbags throwing goddamn tantrums because they didn't get their way right that very moment. Old people have absolutely no patience for anything. Younger people typically have more manners. Getting a job by walking in and talking to the manager. Usually you are met with "did you apply online?" Things aren't like they used to be when it comes to hiring. Online applications seem to be more important. That most of us don't want kids not out of selfishness but because we can't afford them. Things are different, and that's okay. We talk, socialize, and work very differently than people did even 10 years ago. It's not bad, it's just different. We don't get online just to chat or play mindless games. We like to read and learn. We just know how to make it fun. Our planet is dying and I think we need to fix that. When you see me sitting on the bus staring at my phone, rather than reading the paper or talking to my friend, don't be disappointed, because I'm very likely doing that exact thing, but through the magic of technology. Respect isn't something you deserve because you're older than me. Respect is earned at it. Face screaming in fear. My first gold. Thank you, kind stranger. That most jobs in the gaming industry are not lazy jobs. The video game is a huge industry and is not going anywhere anytime soon. That your agent position doesn't mean you get my respect. Karen and Robert. There's this power dynamic that I only see within the boomer generation, where if you're younger than them and you're not like their doctor or something, you have to be subservient to them, the total stranger. What's the time frame where the boomers are going to retire in mass? Next 15 years. Wandering gangs calling themselves the boomers, wearing boat shoes and chasing after younger people for their medication. Imagine the baby boomers complaining now, and then imagine how bad it'll be when they don't have anything else better to do. Baby boomers. Born 1946 to 1964 Generation X. Born 1965 to 1980 Millennials. Born 1981 to 1996 Post-Millennials. Born 1997 present. It's not only out of vogue to put two spaces after a period, but it's improper. Word processing programs already extend the spaced area between sentences after a period. But we learned it this way and it's hard to change. So did we. We're 30 and had to unlearn too. So many of us are afraid and depressed for the future. The internet and encryption are really freaking important, and that politician that you like who promised that they would get the bad people off the internet has no idea what he is talking about and is in danger of wrecking the entire thing. This stuff isn't rocket science, but you are being misled and it will have dire consequences. When I say I'll just use GPS, that means stop giving me fracking directions. That the time of having a family on a single income is gone. There are so many women families that would like to have the opportunity to have a stay-at-home mom but absolutely cannot afford and would never be able to afford it, so mama must go work then come home and work and try to do both like some kind of superhuman. Little late, but I'm not addicted to video games because I play them in my free time, even if it's all my free time. No different than my parents coming home and sitting in front of the TV all night. Blows my mind that it's an approved disease. Paper is ridiculous. There is no reason to keep both an electronic and paper copy anymore. There's also no damn reason to print 10 pages of a damn email string one-sided, especially when it consists of a different conversation that took place over a year ago. There's no need to print out something for me to go through and check shit off when you can print to a PDF and I can go through it and check shit off on the damn PDF. I hate wasting paper. It's not the waitress's fault that your steak isn't cooked to your liking. She took your order to the chef. She cooked it and then the waitress brought it back. Stop having a go at a young woman just trying to get by in life when it's got nothing to do with it. If you want to shout, go ask the chefs because they can actually stand up for themselves. Also, when it's super busy in a restaurant, food takes longer to arrive. IDKY, this is hard to understand. If you haven't guessed, I worked in a restaurant for a short time. Used to get old people come in and order steak well done and complain it was chewy and that they have been cooking beef for years and it never comes south like this. The chef must not know how to cook. How weird and dissatisfying it is to grow up in a world between two generations of pre and post internet connected world. We are young enough to remember when phones were attached to our houses and looking up things in the Encyclopedia Britannica to get answers. Now we are a combination of apathy, disappointed, amazed, overwhelmed and dismayed. The world is changing and we are not yet in control of it and may not ever be. The younger internet-only generation may usurp us all. That Wikipedia is perfectly reliable for general purposes. I get so fucking sick of telling my students that it's perfectly fine for high school purposes because the older teachers have told them their whole life that it's unreliable. Subscribe for more. Like if you are a millennials, share if you are a boomer, I for one and a Generation Z.